By the end of this video we are going to have a working solution for footstep sounds using Animancer events and the amazing Footstepper Asset for Game is Love. So let's get started. Let's continue by implementing a footstep system. When talking about footsteps, there are several options that we can implement or do in order to achieve that functionality. Normally speaking, the way that most of the games do it is when they select the specific animation. Let's say we have this FBX with Ellen idle, and then, well, in this case it's idle, but if it was a walking animation, then we go into the events and add the specific event when the foot are touching the ground when walking or running and sprinting, and we need to do the same thing for each of these animations. That requires, of course, by doing so you are manipulating or changing the original FBX animation. Another alternative is like what we have here in our project. So if I were to go into the animation clips, and let's see, for example, the on-arm animation clips, and let's select the walk animation. This is just the animation clip, there is no FBX, and here we can do the same thing, like choosing where the step the foot is touching the ground, and then from here, of course, since this is a animation clip, we need to open the animation window to look at it. Animation, there we go. And from here we can see that at frame 35 is the first touch, so we choose frame 35 and add the event, and so on and so forth. So for example, we select, click add animation event, and then we need to put the name of the function that is going to be called by any script in the same hierarchy of the animator running the animation. So it could be, as you may guess, a little bit of cumbersome when we have that many animations like we are currently working with now. We have on-arm animations, we have short axe animations and large axe animations. So imagine having to add those events on each of these animations is a long task. So thankfully we are using Animancer, and we can handle that by code, and it's going to be a generic solution. And because we are using the animations from the same creator, we basically know, or we can guarantee that the frames where we need to add these events in code will match the same frames in each of these animations basically. So let's start by opening our animation states. So let's go to script, gameplay, behavior, characters, states. So let's double click in the locomotion state, and when we are handling the change animations, so scroll down, we have here change animation set. This is the place that we can register these events. So because we are changing the animation of the moveset because different weapons, this is the correct place to do this. So let's say, for example, for the walk clip transition, we type events, and then we add a new event, and this is going to be for the left foot. So it is expecting, we have several parameters here or overloads. So the first is expecting an Animancer event, but in this case we are going to take out, we are going to use, let's go back to the options. We are going to use the normalized time, or the time we need to add or trigger this event, and then we need a callback. So how to determine this normalized time? Let's go back quickly to Unity. And if we were to select one of our animation sets here, let's select, for example, the on-arm again. And then we have in the locomotion, we have the walk clip transition. We click on it and then we are pointed to the animation itself, but Animancer is telling us that this animation itself, the duration is 80 frames. So let's take a look at it. And we want the left step, right here, perhaps, or here. So we see is frame 29. So to determine the normalized time, we need to divide 29 per the length of the animation, which we saw already. So let's go back to the animation set. It is 80 frames. So if we drag our calculator here, we can say that 29 divided by 80 is 36. So if we go back to our script, we can say here that 0.36 is a float, and then we need to create our callback function. So let's do that over here. Let's create a private void, and let's see, this is going to be the on left foot step, and let's do similarly for the right foot step. So we can now add this callback over here in the method, and let's copy the whole string, and this in this case will be now we need to calculate the normalized time, and then we add the callback for the right foot. So let's go back to Unity and see the time we need to add there. So we had the left foot, now, sorry, this is the right foot, right, left. So we have it the other way around, and this is 66, probably 70. Yeah, this is the left foot, 70. So once again, let's bring up the calculator. So 70 divided by 80.87. So let's go back to the script. 0.87, and let's swap the callbacks. So this is actually the right foot, and this is the left foot. There we go. So similarly, we need to do the same thing. So I will do that now. I already have the time calculated. I don't want to waste your time, but you see the approach that we need to do here. So I will just paste the entries from my research and development project, and there we have it. So we have for the jog animations, the normalized time we need to trigger the events. Okay, so at this point we can just type here a debug log. You must make sure it's working as expected. Let's say instead just log, let's type warning so we can see in yellow in the console, and this is going to be name of on left footstep, and let me copy this guy, and name of on right footstep. Let's compile the code and let's go back to Unity and let it compile, and let's go to the make the console visible and hit play. Now if we start, in this case because I'm using the keyword jogging, and you can see the entries are being logged, so the events are working properly. And we can switch now to the on arm animation set, and you can see still the entries are being logged in the console as well. If I were to keep the small axe, and you can imagine the time that we just save right now by doing so in code, right? So let's now actually trigger or execute some foot sounds. For that reason I want to use the Footstepper asset from the same creator of ORK Framework and Machinum, Game is Love. So let's do that now. Okay, so I have opened the package manager and then search for Footstepper in my assets. So let's click on import. And from here we can just import everything. Okay, so now we have the Footstepper asset in the project, so I can close this guy now. And what I will do is to move this folder inside the plugins folder, because if you are using the Git repository for this project, the plugins folder is not included, and since this is a commercial asset, I don't have the permission to share it. I will just move it over here. So if you plan to use this same asset after you purchase it in the asset store, just remember you will need to import it afterwards in the project. And because it's here inside this plugins folder, the references should be stay safe. Okay, so let's start following the documentation about Footstepper, and the first thing we need to do is to create a material for it. So let's, in our art folder, in the materials folder, let's create a new folder, and let's call this one create folder Footstepper, and inside this Footstepper folder right click, create. Now we have the Footstepper option here to create a footstep material. And of course I will keep my naming convention to put an M for material as prefix, and let's add keep footstep material, footstep, and let's call this one dirt. If we expand the default effects, this is where we can assign audio clips and prefabs to, for example, instantiate dust particles or something like that, or any other type of particles. But we are just focusing now in audio clips. So let's import some footsteps audios for this. So let me click in the audio folder. We have SFX, sound effects, and let's just import this open source Common Creative Commons footstep sounds. And now that we have those, we can go back into our material and let's add 4 entries, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And as you may see here, we could add specific sound clips for whether we are walking, running, sprinting. But again, just to keep it simple, I will just focus on these walk audio clips, even though we are going to reuse them when we are jogging and sprinting. So now let's assign the audio clips. So let's go here in the sounds and let's select concrete, and I will add each of these audio clips to the corresponding slots. Regarding audio, remember always to start trying to compress and work with the performance at the beginning of the project. We are not talking about that too much, but you may want to start doing it at early stages. So we can see here, for example, the original size for this clip is 11 kilobytes. After it is imported is 3.5, but you might not want to have 100% of quality. This is not a relevant audio, so you might want to decrease it like that and then hit apply, and you can see how the size was decreased and so on and so forth, either to determine if you want to this clip to be decompressed on load or compressed already in memory or be streamed. So those are things that you need to think about at earlier stage of your project to start working in the performance of your game. Okay, so let me do the same for all of them now that we are here. So 50, apply, and if we were to play one of them, I don't know if you can hear that, it's really low volume, but let me increase the volume. Well, I hope you can hear it. Anyways, let's continue. So we have our footstep material. Now, since in the scene we have as a ground a terrain, okay, so we can see here is a terrain just with a sprite assigned to it. We can also add here, so let's create a footstep texture material. Similarly, let's assign our naming convention, so M for material, footstep texture. And I'm not going to do anything here in these properties, so I will step to the next step, which is in this case add a footstep source. So let's select the terrain and click on add component, and now we can type footstep source, mesh footstep, mesh terrain footstep source in this case. And if we expand the texture materials, we have nothing here, but what we can do is to click the plus button, assign our texture material footstep texture here, terrain footstep source, and we should have an option to select the texture assigned to this terrain, but I cannot see it anywhere now. Let me click again in the object. So let's try this once again. Let me remove the component. Let's go to the texture material or the terrain material, and let's try to do it from here. So load from terrain, this is what I was expecting to see, and let's click the terrain in the scene, or actually search for it like so. Double click. Now we have this option to load textures from terrain, and if we expand this texture data, we now have the sprite that is assigned to the text to the terrain, and then we can assign the material itself, that is going to be this one. Okay, so now let's go back to the terrain again, and let's add once again the component terrain footstep source, and terrain, and then we assign the material, and all the data is here already. Okay, so this is what I was missing. Sorry for that, guys. So now that we have the footstep sound source, we need to add the footstepper to our player. So let's select our game object here, and let's open the prefab, and let me collapse these guys over here. So down below we can add a footstepper. There we go, footstepper component. So this component has a lot of properties, and because we are using Animancer and not the standard animator controller, we are going to make some changes here, so follow me. Of course we need this component to be enabled. In this case we are not going to use this isPlayer. This is for the, if we were to use a footstep manager that is going to use a pooling system, but we might do that in the future, not now. Then it is asking whether we want to only highest animation weight, because remember we are not using the animator controller. Then we can uncheck, or need to uncheck, this one. Then we have the list of or the fit transforms that we need to assign. So let's click this twice for the left and the right foot, and let's go into our mesh model and select the armature, and I lost track of the component here, so let me go there and click on the lock. So once again, so we have the left leg, left foot, and assign it into the slot 0, left foot, like so. And then we have the right up leg, right leg, and right foot. Or we can do the other way around, actually. So let's say the right foot is 0, element 0, and the left foot is going to be element 1. There we go. Now this is for speed settings, when we want to autoplay the animations based on the character or the player speed, which is taken from the movement of the transform of the game object. We don't care about that, even though, well, I will put it to update or maybe none. We are not taking in account this. And also use a speed check. Well, no, we are not using a speed check in this case. Then we need to assign an audio source. So let's see if we have an audio source in the character. No, we don't. So let's add an audio source to the character or the player, audio source. and in the properties of the audio source we uncheck play on awake, and we can leave the volume to 1 because the volume of the walk or the footstep is handled here in the audio volumes. So let's just drag the game object over here, and it will detect already that the audio source below. So we can leave pitch variation like so. Then for the walk and or the volume for the footstep, I will put them in 1, all of them, because we already saw that the clip or the audio clips that we imported are very low volume. So let's put that on 1. Raycast settings, this is to detect the ground where we need is going to create a ray trace to select whether we are touching or to detect or extract the material from where we are hitting the raycast. So in this case we are using Raycast 3D because it's a 3D game, and then we have the layer mask set to everything. But if we click on the scene, or in this case we are in the prefab mode, so let me go back 1 second. If we take or click the terrain itself, we see that it's in the default. So let's go back to our player prefab, scroll down, and let's change this to nothing first, and then click the default and perhaps water. There we go. Then we need to increase the ray distance, let's say 1 meter. We don't have any tile maps in this case. This is not a 2D game, and we can keep search renders. So this is for fallback finding of the materials in the heat ray. Okay, and that should be it for the settings in the Footstepper. So since we need to call this component, or to call the play sounds from code, let's add a reference to this object, not in the character in this case, where you remember we were using the character as a hub to have a reference to all the components, but Footstepper requires that we set or we tell Footstepper if we are grounded, and this is coming from the character controller. There is a property there is grounded, so we need to pass that information to the Footstepper for every tick or every update. And in the character script we are not handling any update method, we are doing it in the character movement. So let's do that here actually. Let's click edit script and let Visual Studio to open. Okay, so now that we have our character movement script opened, let's add a reference on it. So let's select, for example, down below here after the character controller. So let's add a serialized field. IntelliSense is not helping me now, so private gaming is love, Footstepper, there we go. And let's add a public getter to it. That will return our private variable Footstepper. Now let's copy this variable, and if we scroll down in the update method, right at the start of the method we can add Footstepper set grounded, and now we can call our character controller. So let's copy the private variable. Character controller is grounded, and we pass to the set grounded this boolean or flag. Okay, so this is a requisite in order to actually play the footstep. We need to be grounded. Okay, so that's everything we need to do in the character movement component. So since we already have here, we are here in Visual Studio, then let's go to the locomotion state. Scroll down, and where we have these debug logs, we can now remove them. And instead, for the left foot, we can do now and call our character or the reference we have of our character. And remember, the character is the hub, so this class also has a reference to the character movement itself. So let's do a character movement. Now we have a footstepper class, and then we can do the method we need to call in this case, or the method that are available for us from code. In this case, the simplest one is, for example, footstep walk. What is it? Walk index. So we can use this one, or this is the recommended suggestion from the documentation. Of course, if we were to use the run and the sprint also sounds, we need to do this accordingly, but let's keep it simple once again. And then we need to pass the index of the foot, left foot. So if you remember, we added this in the editor, and the left foot is the index 1, the right is index 0. So here we pass index 1, and let's copy this line and put it here for the right foot and index 0. So now if we were to go back to Unity, save everything and let Unity compile, and let's go back to the main scene. If we were to hit play, and we get the exception here, a bunch of them. Okay, so of course, let's stop, and I totally forgot to, let's open the prefab once again, and if we go to the character movement, the footstepper slot is empty, so let's just drag this guy here. There we go. Let's save the changes. Let me make sure I always, yes, is saving the prefab itself. Okay, so let's now try again. And I don't know if you can hear the footstep, I hope so. Now if I try with the gamepad, walking, and sprinting, there we go. So it's working perfectly fine as expected, and this was very simple and easy to implement. And the Footstepper component asset is just like 15 euros or 14 US dollars, so it's up to you. But again, we need to be smart in that case, and you need to measure how much time will you spend implementing such system. So it's up to you, but I really recommend it. Nevertheless, let's finalize the implementation by adding the same event for the rest of the animation steps. So let's open up our state strafe locomotion state, and here in the change animation set, let's make room, and I will copy paste the implementation I already have, like so. Now we need the callbacks. Footstepper, I create the variable as uppercase in this case, and now we need to also do the same for the dodge state. So in this state itself is a little bit tricky because we have the backstep, the roll, we don't have any footstep to play there, but we have the directional dash as well. So let's scroll down, change animation set. We are calling the on-end events here, and we are looping through all the dash clips, so we can do that here. So I will add some room here before the end events, and I will add the backstep first of all, like so. Now we need, of course, our callbacks, so we can copy them from either the locomotion state like so, when the left foot is always the index 1 and the right foot is the index 0, and in this case the back step is starting from the left foot and then on the right foot. Yet again, in the directional dashes we actually have 3 points of sounds, and let's take a look at it if you want. So let me go back to Unity and let's select any moveset. Okay, compile Unity. Oh, come on. So for example, on our animation set we have the directional dash, and if we were to select the forward dash, we can see that we have left, right, left, left, right, left. So 3 points or 3 sounds to play, and it is starting with the left. So that's the reason in the code we are starting with the left. We will start from the left and then on the right foot. So let me, after we add, or before we add the end event, we can do, since we are looping through all the clips in the directional dash, we can just copy this here, and then we are, in this case is clip transition, like so, and then we are calling the callback for the left foot, right foot and left foot once again, like so. Save the changes and let's go back to Unity. And there is a small change we need to do in the locomotions itself in this regard, because if you saw in the code, I'm stating to the left foot sound should play at 07, this as 37, and this 143. And not all the animations length is the same in this case. So for example, if we go to the Let me collapse, make some room. Again, the animation set here. We can see here the forward dash is 90 frames. The upright is 90 frames. The right is 76 frame. The downright is 74. And also what I saw is, again, if we click on the animation clip and we check the whole duration, what is going on here. So this is, I will say that we could end this clip over here. So perhaps 70, 74, because otherwise it's just a waste of time or frames, because since we are using the clip transition, it will be a fade in between this animation and the idle animation, so this is just redundant. So we could normalize all of the dash animations to, let's say, 74, and this is what I did. So let's do quickly that, and let's do 74, enter, 74, 74. This is for the end time again. 74, 74, and 74. This is already 74. Also that one. Then the left 74, and the up left is 90. Let's switch it to 74 because we know this is wasting some frames at the end. And we did that for the on-arm. Let's do quickly for the other movesets. So now we are on the short axe and in the directional dash. So 74, 74, 74. Again, this totally depends on the animations you are using. I hope you don't have any problems with it. 74, 74. And look how easy it is to do this using Animancer. It's amazing. Okay, so now we have fixed all the animation sets. With the dash animation, let's give it a try. So we are jogging, walking. Now if we lock on the target, now we are on a strafe. And we can see that we need to fix, for example, here the walk maybe. What about the dash? And if I step outside the target or the lock target and I do the back step, there we go. Yeah, the strafe animation needs to be tweaked, but I really confident that you can do that on your own. I will do that to fix that for the next video, but I will consider that we already have this implemented and is working as expected. And again, you saw that how easy it is in combination Animancer with Footstepper from Gaming is Love. So yep, I hope you like this video, and see you on the next one. Okay guys, so the issue is that I had here a 2 in the index, so we don't have a foot with index 2. In the strafe locomotion state, for some reason I put a 2 there, and that's the reason we had this issue with the strafe footstep sounds. So now if we play again, and we lock on target, the footsteps are playing correctly. There we go. Okay, so as I said, see you on the next one. Bye bye.